and welcome to another Google Business Buzz. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with my brother Jay, and we got another action-packed, topic-filled episode for you guys. How you doing, Ajay? How's everything going?
Henry, hey Henry, hey everyone. I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited for the holidays, spend some time with my family. I hope you're all doing well also. Today, like Henry said, we've got a special one. We're trying to share the gift of some insight, some knowledge pertaining to this space, and I think it's going to be loads of fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with the holidays coming, we definitely have to remind our business owner audience to update your business hours, please. If you do manage your Google Business Profile and your ads, making sure that those hours for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, making sure that those hours are updated will allow Google to display it properly to users that are searching. People do look for things to do on those days, and making sure that if you want your ads to show, they're properly displayed, or if you're not open for business on those days, to take the ads down. That way you don't overspend. Am I missing anything there, Jay?
No, it's the same disclaimer for paid advertising on Google Ads. You can set those rules, or you can, if you're going through a professional marketing firm, you can instruct them to start and stop your ads at certain times. Same with local services ads. So make sure you're not burning money during the holidays when you're actually with your family. Make sure that those are aligned with proper on and off times as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jay, this morning we were awakened with some news courtesy of Barry Schwartz out there at Search Engine Roundtable. Um, Google guaranteed, Google screened. Basically, local service ads is now showing in the Google Local Pack. I'm even seeing it on the Google Maps app on my iPhone. When I do accident attorneys near me, I'm seeing Google screened showing top results. This is different than the Google Ads location asset, formerly known as the location extension, also known as the map ads. This is very different. These are the Google local service ads showing up on top of the Google map. Now, the implications here are very interesting, and we're going to get into those. But knowing this is being rolled out, and it seems like it's being rolled out to certain markets, slowly. But Ajay, what do you think about this? That first, I'm seeing it on my end here in Florida. You're in Idaho. You're not seeing it. Why? What is that about?
I think whenever Google makes changes, they tend to, phase them out slowly, test in some areas, hold it back in others. And I think they do that as a way of seeing how revenue changes and making sure they understand their own changes, and also testing to make sure that they're doing what they intend to do. And so I think it's very characteristic of Google to roll this out, not all at once. It's typically not how they do things. Um, and I think they want to get it right, man. I think they're putting so much money, so much infrastructure behind local services ads. I know we've been harping on it every pod, and I think we've been doing so because it's real, because it's the truth. It's out there right now. Google is putting money behind this thing. This is an area of growth for them. And I think they're very interested in getting it right. There are a few things that we've seen that give credence to that idea that I'm sure we'll expand on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in this update that we're seeing, we were kind of seeing, the same indications with reviews being phased out of LSA and only using the Google Business Profile reviews. Then, as far as we understood it, on November 21st, Google local service ads would only run if you had a verified GBP. Now, I believe that date was rolled back, right? Ajay,
Yeah.
please
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong.
No, 100%. You're right. They pushed that date back. They basically gave or they pushed that date forward really to give people more time to get their Google business profiles verified, up and running, in good standing. And so there's actually two different dates there. There's one for, it seems like existing accounts in some cases that have been running for a while are given even more, grace, and that newer accounts also have a different date now. But the point is, it's not November 21st anymore. It seems like Google is going to enforce this come early December at the soonest.
Okay, so I mean that's interesting. That's a very interesting update. Why do you think they announced something publicly with a different date only to roll it back?
I think I I think there are maybe I mean even with working with an agency, man, even with working with people that know what they're doing, Google business profile issues, correct me if I'm wrong, Henry. I mean, you're really the expert here. But Google business profile issues are not always easy or fast to fix. And so depending on what's going on, if you're having issues with that verification, it can take some time. And so and those are for the people that are in the best situation for this, the best spot, people that have guys like me and Henry and a strong team behind them. Even then it can take some time. Now imagine, Henry, if some of our viewers are not with an agency and they're trying to figure this out on their own, they're running into issues, they got to present Google this documentation, it's this big mess and back and forth. It can take weeks, right? And so I think Google is trying to walk a fine line between adding more trust into their system, basically having people be who they say they are on maps, on LSA, and have that all be verified, and also not being too harsh and too aggressive to where they're penalizing people um, too rapidly. I guess especially because it's around the holidays. People are want to be with their families and want to slow down a bit. It's been a crazy year. Not everyone can afford to slow down. I understand that it's been a tough year in a sense, depending on who you are. But again, I think it's about walking that balance, walking that fine line. What do you
Interesting.
think?
Very interesting. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, and I agree with you because of something we were talking about, earlier, before we recorded. So the LSA layer, right? It's very much focused on local service providers, right? The Google screen being the professional part of that with lawyers, etc. When we do Google Guaranteed, we have the HVAC, the plumbers, the roofers, which are right. These are our main kind of customer, local service customers area. Like they service an area with a specific set of services, right? And they aren't as knowledgeable about Google Ads as I would say a big, brand like Brandsmart or Best Buy, right? A service, not a service provider, but a physical location that is trying to generate brand awareness and also foot traffic to their location. So when you say that they're giving lenience, right? They're giving lenience to this specific advertiser, which is a small business owner, which is specifically a service provider in an area, then then it leads me to another thing we were talking about, that the LSA layer is part of the Google Ads ecosystem, right? Local service ads is part of Google Ads, but it's a simplified version for that roofer, that plumber, that HVAC provider. That being said, still not simple because they put a lot of roadblocks for the advertiser. Not everybody can get on it, which is the, th- the benefit and the what attracts people to this layer, right? It's exclusive to people that can only provide background checks, that can do insurance, that can do all of the necessary documentation, and many people can't, right? That are still out there trying to create, business for themselves. Now, when we think about how LSA is changing with Google Ads, and we've talked about how LSA and GBP are combining, and also we've talked about how restaurants and GBP have their like food.google.com layer, which is completely different than regular Google Maps, but you can still get to the food places on Google Maps, right? It's almost uh, you know, indistinguishable, the foods layer from the Google Maps layer, right? But if you go to foods.google.com, it's going to show you something super different, just specific to food. Similar to travel, right? You can go and get hotels, you can book flights on Google without leaving Google. That's what they want you to do with LSA. And now they're bringing that into the GBP right layer, where once it was the Google Ads that was showing that location extension, the location asset, but now it's going to be exclusive to business owners that can provide this additional layer of verification for Google that also extends to the user, right? Because it leans for more confidence, more expertise, more authority, more trust. So they're using their own algorithms and applying it to different layers. But I do think that at the end of the day, what Google wants is to provide their users with the best possible experience. And if that means giving up advertising dollars because a business is not responsive to the messages and the phone calls that they get, because the business is getting bad reviews, because the business isn't, doing abiding by Google guidelines, right? Basic best practices. If that's all you got to do, then Google's gonna, reward you and even possibly reduce the price for the ads. So they're willing to give advertisers a break if they're good at customer service.
That's such a key point. I want to really stretch it out to everyone listening. Is what we're saying is that it's so hard to get two folks in the same market, right? From an agency perspective, typically you don't want to take on competitors in the same spot. But sometimes it happens, very rarely. And so we found this one case recently of two folks in a similar area, very similar ads, similarly configured. Obviously nothing's the exact same, but criminal and DUI attorneys in South Florida, similar job types, similar budget. What was the difference between these two? Ad quality. One had poorer responsiveness, one had less reviews and was working on reviews less frequently. And what we found, which was fascinating, you'd expect that, whichever one is doing better would probably be spending more because they're ranking higher. And so, the winning bid is probably going to be more expensive. It's going to be expensive to stay in that spot. What we found was actually that the one who was ranking better was spending less per lead. Now, because we don't have too many of these situations, we're not saying this is going to be the case in every interaction, but I think Google gets a lot of bad press from small businesses, right? And in this case, what we found was that Google was actually encouraging, incentivizing, gamifying the skill, the customer service. They were incentivizing the advertiser who was doing better by what? By making his leads a little bit cheaper. I think that's amazing because it speaks to what you said, Henry, which is that Google will not always do the most profitable thing. They're trying to blend in really and truly the better user experience. And if you can help them as an advertiser give an excellent user experience, they'll cut you a break on the money because to them, it's more important that the person doing business with your firm has a good taste left in their mouth after the interaction, that that person, the end customer, would turn back to a Google result or a Google answer again. That's really the key point here. The lifetime value of a user for Google. That's more important than anything else. And what is that contingent upon? That's contingent upon the quality of that interaction and how happy you feel walking away from interacting with the Google advertiser. And so that was a key realization that I feel like we don't talk about as much in this space. But
Mhm.
go ahead, Henry.
No, bingo, bingo. You said it right. They are willing to gamify this, right? But it's because the lifetime user experience is going to keep that user coming back. If they mess with that user experience and they lose the user to a chat GPT to a Bing to a Yahoo to an Apple, that's revenue that they're losing. So they're willing to give up revenue in the short term because this is a long term game, and that's how they've made their money. Definitely with tweaks along the way. They've started with that organic search, and the algorithm was very easy to manipulate. Not so much anymore. Same with Google Ads, very easy to manipulate in the beginning. Now it's tough. You really got to know what you're doing so you don't overspend, so you don't misspend. Uh there's so many levers to pull on that, and that it's kind of, you know, important to put that into the hands of a professional, right? I mean, technically, as a United States citizen, I can, defend myself in court if I had to. But I would never do that because I'm not a lawyer, and I would prefer to hire the services of a lawyer if
I
ever
think we'd
so I
love to
need it.
see an episode of The Buzz with Henry defending himself in court. No, I agree with you, man. And this lends itself great to another point we were talking about. Is we've been saying this all throughout our previous episodes. And it's the truth on the surface that local services ads is this new platform. That's how we've been pitching it. That's kind of its story, right? Oh, it's new, it's up there, it's exciting. Really and truly, Henry, when you look at it, you raised a great point. When people were trying Google Ads on their own 5, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they were burning money, Google Ads at the end of the day delivers a click in most cases, a click that you're hoping will turn into whatever it is you're really truly after. All LSA runs on the same exact infrastructure. Uses the same billing infrastructure, same account access infrastructure, and I'm told that it really in the back end, LSA is just running a campaign, a Google Ads campaign that we can't see. So really, this is built atop existing ads infrastructure. What am I trying to say here? Local services ads, all it is just a rebranded, it's certainly innovative Google Ads. They're taking the same thing that they're dressing it up, they're giving it a cool UI, and they're skipping right to the end of what do people want? What do these local service providers that Henry is talking about, the appliance repair guy listening to this, the plumbing firm, what do they all want? They probably want calls. And what if we can skip out this awkward middleman of clicks and get them right to the end, right to that finish line? And that's all local services ads is. If you think about it, it's just a cleaner way to get calls. It's simpler, it's easier, and it shows in ways that you can understand it and that you can see the value. So it's really genius. And I think this has us redraw our definition of local services ads. Yes, technically, local services ads is a newer platform. Really and truly, with the asterisk, it's the same thing, just rebranded, improved, and kind of an ads 2.0, if you will. This is all the same stuff. We've been talking about it like it's different, and I think really and truly we should start talking about it as under the same umbrella, under the ads umbrella.
I totally agree. That's 100% right. And it's like, okay, you said it. The LSA advertiser, the small local service provider business, small medium-sized business, they're looking for phone calls from very interested people, people that are high intent, and that is what you get with LSA, right? High intent phone calls, messages, bookings. With Google Ads now, you have to think about it as how can we use this for local, traffic for local businesses, right? Google Ads is still important. The display network, the performance max campaigns. There's a lot to be done, but now think about it for a physical location, a storefront that you're trying to provide foot traffic for, that you're trying to get into the purview of somebody that's driving by using Google Maps. When you're using your Google Maps app to get to place A to B, you'll see little map markers that are square. That's a Google ad. Right? You please come to Dunkin' Donuts, right? If you need a coffee, come to Starbucks. So that's how Google Ads is pivoting for that local business, right? That is a hybrid location, maybe sends out deliveries or sends out service providers, but can also receive clients and customers at their location. Also e-commerce, right? E-commerce super important. coming up with the holidays, it's more important than ever, right? You need to have those Google ads set up if you want to sell your product to people that are interested, to people that are looking for gifts for their family, for their friends. So definitely now's the time to have that already set up. You should have been talking about this with your marketing and advertising firm about a month ago, but if you don't have it set up yet, you still got a month. It's time to work on it.
If you don't have it set up yet, come work with OMG National. We won't do you that dirty.
Let's
We'll get it
go.
well in
Well said.
advance.
Well
Well in
said.
advance. No, man, but I wanna hit on that though. It's like the folks who are looking for calls, and some of them I hear, oh, local services ads is too expensive. The ticket to entry base cost per lead is too expensive. I want to be respectful about this, but also truthful about this. But with what I see across thousands of people, is that frankly, you have no choice. If you're looking for calls and Google is pushing LSA, Google is backing it, that LSA is offering calls, this is where the market is moving. And we may not be there at the final iteration yet. Now, it may take another 10, 5 years, but sooner or later, that will be really the place to go for call volume if it isn't already. And I know it is for many industries. But let me give you an example. Towing, right? Just released nationwide very recently. And so for our automotive and towing base, very important, just like all of our customers, super important, super, we take pride in servicing these folks just as much as everyone else, but clearly an area of expertise for us. You can get on the top of Google, literally, via LSA and get as many calls as you want. You know why? Because there will be limited to no competition at this moment in time. Why? Because everyone who tries local services ads when it's dropped for a new industry is an early adopter. When you're an early adopter, you run your market. Think about how powerful it would have been to be on the ground floor of Google ads, many, many years ago. Those clicks would have all been cheaper. You would have been having a field day. And now that same budget that would have gotten you 10 phone calls or 10 form fills or whatever you're looking for back then, that same budget will maybe get you one or two today, right? Things are getting expensive and competitive. And so my point is that it doesn't really matter what people think. We love to think that our say matters. We can have this politically correct discussion, or we can have a discussion about the truth. This is where Google is moving towards. This is where the calls are. This is where the action's going to be. And you're going to get left behind if you're not here. So if you're not seeing the signs already from the intermingling of GBP and LSA, if you're not seeing the signs from what we discussed at the top of this podcast, from local services ads taking itself and now showing in the maps layer, if you're not seeing the signs of the dollar shifting, then I don't know what it'll take to convince folks at this point. I just don't want people left behind years from now thinking, man, I should have listened to Jay and Henry 5 years ago.
Hey, hey, you know what they say, the best time to plant a tree was 5 years ago. So you have to act now. Early bird gets the worm. Let's bring out all the sayings, right? The truth of the matter is, right now, for towing specifically, as we saw for many other industries in the past, right? The early adopter, the person, the advertiser that's always there, the only advertiser there is going to get all the phone calls. And with towing, it's an emergency service. Everybody has a car. Everybody ends up needing a towing provider at some point. So you want to be on top. You need to be on top. And we're very good at getting our clients there. We know exactly how to do this. We are Google Premier partners, and Ajay here is the LSA master. We're very lucky to have him. But with that, we want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. Ajay, Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Too, bro.
It's been a pleasure to do another year of podcasting with you. We're ending 2024 here. We're going to continue in 2025 real hard. So let's get it. Let's get it. Very excited.
Super, super excited and super grateful to have spent so much time with you guys. I hope when we're being pushy, if it comes across that way, it's all for the better. We don't want to see you guys left behind. We don't want to see your businesses hurt. We want to bring you the kind of what we feel is the truth, even if it's sometimes a bit uncomfortable. Um, because that's the way this space works. You gotta go where the money's going. So, with
That's
that,
right.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and thank you for another awesome year. Look forward to the next one.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.